I don't know what to say. I don't know how to. I never know how to start these things, but I feel like I should say something. But yeah, I'm gonna do a quick stream tonight. It's already 10:30, and just between me and you, I'm already past my bedtime. So, but I wanted to work on this. Like, I don't know if you read the title or the description, but yeah, I got this graphics tablet, which oddly enough I'm using to make music. So I don't want to get too into it tonight. I don't know. I don't want to ramble on and on. But essentially, this is a mobile DAW, or DAW, digital audio workstation. And I actually initially got into this on mobile, right? So, like, imagine instead of me using this mouse you see here, I would use my two thumbs and I would make music and it would sound very, very bad. But anyway, I sort of struggled with making music on a desktop. Well, especially with this app because it's not really meant for desktop. I mean, it works, don't get me wrong, but what I'm saying is I kind of bridge the gap between the two. I have the precision of using this mouse cursor, right? But I also have the speed in my workflow as if I was using my thumbs again, like, like a mobile format. So that being said, I'm probably not going to talk a whole lot. Maybe I will. I kind of always end up talking a lot, but I don't know. I'm just kind of excited to get back into making music again. This is so much more intuitive and comfortable to me. I also learned how to disable that little taskbar at the bottom of this. So now like I can actually focus on like just making the music and not accidentally opening up other programs and stuff like that. But yeah, I'm gonna continue with this little. I don't know. I know like in past streams I was hating on like the early Mega Man games like Mega Man 1. I was always shitting on like Fireman's music or whatever, but I think um I think I'm ready to actually go through and start remixing them properly because I realized I don't have to just keep it to the same BPM and the same style that they originally were, right? I can do something funky with it, kind of like this. So let's see what happens. I mean, I'll try and explain as I go what I'm doing, but I don't want to get too like the last thing I want to do is just zone out and like make all these like movements at once and do all these things without even explaining, right? It's probably not a whole lot of fun for you. I mean, if you've been paying attention or if you're watching, right? I mean, I'll say it myself. Like whenever I watch tutorials and the guy's like silent or he's just like clicking away as fast as he can and like I don't know. I guess I should watch better tutorials. And this isn't really a tutorial. This is kind of just I'm making music and I decided I'll just stream it. Just for the fun of it. Anyway, I'll try and explain as I go what I'm doing and why I'm doing it. But for the most part, I think I'll just kind of shut. I'm contradicting myself. I just said I hate when people do that. Now I'm just telling you I'm gonna do that. So I don't know. I would play the music and talk, but I feel like because I'm using my speakers, there's gonna be feedback into the mic, and I think that might be kind of annoying. I mean, I could just throw on those headphones, but I don't want to throw on the headphones. I like listening to this stuff on the speakers. So yeah, well, let's just get into it. I'll shut up. I'll do this for about. I don't want to go on for too long, so I'll say about an hour or so, maybe a little bit under that, and then I'll just cut it short. So, with that being said, if you have any questions or if you want to critique what I'm doing, feel free to talk or feel free to message me later after this video goes up, or I don't know. It's just don't be afraid to reach out and ask me what I'm doing or why I'm doing what I'm doing, right? Because I do a lot of things that I don't know where I'm going with that. It's a stupid joke. I'm just gonna shut up and get into the music. All right. So yeah, just enjoy. Yeah, so I'll explain what I did here. I did things kind of fast. So step number one was I just moved the beatbox to channel one, just because it's just my workflow. I like to have my drums up top. Step two is I had this lead, so that quartet or that violin you've been hearing, that this, okay. So what did I do here? Let's just backtrack a little bit, and I'll explain. So I have lead, or we'll call it lead number one. I'll quickly just rename that to lead one. Oh crap, we gotta retype it. You hear that tapping though? That's all just that pen. Like, I'm not even using a keyboard. Alright, so lead number one, it starts at, I think last stream we called these bars or measures. I'm gonna use them interchangeably. I don't know the difference, okay? I'll just be straight with you. I'll call it measures because it sounds more professional, I guess. Anyway. Start at number 4 because that's where that lead one starts playing. So what did I do? Okay, there's a space in there. Let me not get off topic. Lead number 1, that's the violin. So I added in another machine, we'll call it lead number 2, and I assigned to it a piano. But you notice it has that delay effect. Why does it have that delay? Because it's just a preference of mine. I kind of like having a bit of a delay on my pianos, and it kind of divvies it up. It kind of changes up the sound a bit because these violins. Wait, listen. There's nothing really to it. Like, there's not a whole lot going on. But when you pair it with the piano, you can hear the piano like echoing when they play together. And if you'll notice, lead 2 shares the same notes. So what did I do? Or what I did was I started at measure 4, click none just to clear the selection. I click all, so I'm selecting all the notes in lead number 1. I go to measure number 4. So now this is my piano, lead number 2. So I put my cursor back at the same position, number 4, and I just pasted those notes in, so they share the same notes. But what I did differently on lead 2 was add that delay effect. So if we hear it now. You get the idea. But so I want to explain just a little bit right here how I managed to add that delay effect. So you'll see, okay, so you get 14 of these tracks, we'll call them, right? 14 machines I can play with. And then you get these two FX channels, 1 to 7, 8 to 14, okay? And you also get 2 of these mixer channels, 1 to 7, 8 to 14. So what I'm doing right now is I'm playing with the mixer channel. I'm not, so the FX are adding all these colorful things to it, it changes up the sound. But if you go to the mixer, you will always have a reverb and a delay knob. And those two, like on the mixer, are actually controlled down here by this delay and this reverb. So don't worry if it doesn't make sense. I'll explain it just in a little bit. I'll explain it like as clear as I can. You can think of this delay knob as a percentage. So if it's at 0, it doesn't play. If I bump it up, I'll play it and then I'll talk. So if I bump it up a little bit more and more and more, it's saying, like, how much of this delay effect do you want to play? Like, how, like, I guess you could say it's kind of hard to explain, but it's like, just think of it as like a 0 to 100 thing. If it's at 0, there's no delay. If it's at 50, there's a 50% delay. And, if it's at 100, it's 100% of a delay. Okay, so I'll turn it up as it plays, so you get the idea. So let's go back, start at 4. You notice that? It got louder and louder, that delay effect. So now I want to explain this thing here. When I double tap this, it resets it to default, like the default state. So I reset these both to default. So let's hear it right now. Just let's put this up to, yeah, let's put it to max. Why not? Let's hear it. It's not bad. Like, I kind of like it like that. But if I pair it with my lead noise, Damn, that actually sounds better than what I was doing. Yeah. I'll go back to the piano, so we'll hear that again. And actually, instead of me clicking number 4 over and over and over, I can actually click. Oh, you gotta be quick. Click and drag. So I can drag out a section. We'll just do it like 4 to 8. And that will create a loop point. So now if I play it. Now what I can do is I can start playing. I just want to make sure that it's not echoing too much. I can play with this time value. So what does this time do? If I turn it down all the way. Pay attention to this. Are you guys seeing that little? No, you're not seeing the little effect I'm seeing. Pay attention to this bar here. There's a left channel and a right channel. So when this time is at 0, or like 0%, there's like almost no delay between the left and the right. So when it plays fairly quick. So if I turn that up just a bit, you see where I'm going with this? So at default, like if I turn it all the way up, oh no, so here's another thing. Just because I have a loop point at 4 to 8, if I double tap this stop button, if you see right here by the title, it actually takes me back to 0, and it's useful for me. You know, if I'm all the way out here working on something and I'm like, oh, let me just hear it from the beginning. Double tap, hit play. You won't hear anything because I muted a bunch of stuff. Anyway, let's go back to loop point number 4. We'll let it loop over and over, and I won't hit doubles. I won't stop. Like I won't reset it. So what I'm saying is, this time value. So if we hear it now. So I'm going to do one last thing. I'm going to play it again and I'm going to start turning down that dial so you can kind of understand how it works. Essentially, I don't know what that sync does, to be honest. I'd probably have to look into it and figure it out. But what I'm saying is, if this is at 100%, there's a really big delay between the notes. And if I put it down to 0, there's almost no delay between the notes. So you compare this with what's called a wetness value. And this wetness value is the exact same thing I was describing here. It's a 0 to 100% kind of thing here. So we'll keep that at 100. Okay. So let's hear it with 0 wetness. And again, it's a force of habit to double tap the stop, so I'm always gonna have to repick that loop point. So let's hear it with 0 wetness. Notice that you can see the bars moving, but we cannot hear it. That's because this delay effect is actually at 0%. So if I turn it up, the way I think of it is like you're hearing the volume of the delay effect. So naturally it's a 50%. Okay, it's fairly loud, but if it's too loud, I can always just turn down that wetness. Now remember, this is different from the delay, so you can think of it says right there, time between the delays. And yeah, so it's a bit complicated. I just kind of want to slow down and explain what I'm doing, so you can kind of understand my workflow. And the last thing I did, I duplicated, so I'll just drag these down to here. So lead 1, lead 2, and organ, which I guess would be called lead 3. And what I'm doing with this is I'm just trying to fill out the sound. So we're not just hearing that one instrument, that violin. So if I did this right, we can now hear all 3 of these playing at once. Right? Makes for a more interesting sound. And the cool thing I learned about Caustic, actually, I've known about this a long time, but I kind of never used it in my practice, but I can merge those instruments. So you notice that we could barely hear lead number 3, so let's turn that up more. Kind of cool, isn't it? I could essentially merge all three of these, lead 1, 2, and 3, and I could export it. I'll show you what it means. When I export, it would come into this folder or one of these folders, and so instead of, like, essentially instead of loading up 1, 2, and 3, I could just condense them into one instrument. For example, like this, right? Just imagine it would play all those sounds. But you get what I mean. It's like I can cut down on, like, I can create unique instruments by doing this kind of technique where I can, if I like what I hear, I don't need three machines to hear that, right? I could just combine it into one. But the thing is, if I want more control over those sounds, I would be better off leaving them separate. Now, why is that? Because of the FX channel here. Oh, look at me. I'm teaching people here. So let's go to lead 1. We know that's the violin, okay? So let's just hear it. Oh, god damn it. It always... There, loop that. Okay. So let's start playing with some effects here. And I know this is kind of like a weird tutorial and not really a music stream anymore, but I don't know. Let's just hear what it sounds like, and I'll start adding in some effects to make it sound a little bit more interesting. Oh god. Let's mute the rest. Let's just hear these three. So these M and S, if you're wondering, S is to solo. You can hear that one. Or I can S and M. So M is mute, so you can turn it off or turn it on. So I kind of like doing that. I like soloing out and only, like, because now I'm not going to hear the beat or anything else, right? And it saves me the trouble of doing something like, oh, I got to turn down the volume, and it's just a hassle. Mixing is a completely different beast. So right now I'm not doing any mixing. This is more just playing. I'm playing around with the sounds and getting the, I don't know, the tones and the textures and all that weird terminology. But okay, let's go to the effects. So what do we want lead number 1 to sound like? Our violin. You see where I'm going with this? Like, I'm not going to go into detail about what each and every one of these do, but maybe in a later stream or in a later video. But it's fun. Like, it's a lot of fun to... And look, here we even have the delay and the reverb. Where is it? I don't even know. It's right here. So one thing I want to point out, like, instead of using delay and reverb on these two channels, now remember, for lead 1, I only get 2 of these FX slots, okay? So rather than using delay and reverb on these, why don't I just use delay and reverb on the mixer? And that frees me up to have those effects. Like, I can add delay and I can add reverb. Reverb, if you're wondering, is a... It's a, you know, I'll just demonstrate it. It's easier heard, I don't know, it's easier to demonstrate. Do you hear like that? Maybe that's a bad example. So let's go with the piano, okay? I'm not gonna wait, So if I add reverb to it, I don't know, like, there's a bunch of this stuff that I don't really mess around with, or I don't really know too much about off the top of my head, but the best way I can describe reverb is, okay, so imagine you're in a closet and you're talking because you're a very strange person. You'll notice that your voice doesn't really echo in that closet, like, you know, it's just a small little closet, right? Okay, your voice does not echo at all. Now compare it to standing in, like, a cathedral, where when you say something or you shout, like, your sound, your voice reverberates, or reverb, all around the room, off of all those surfaces, and you get this cool effect. So Caustic is fairly limited. Like I mean, I don't know, maybe you could recreate that cathedral like sound using this reverb stuff, but I haven't found a way to do it, and honestly speaking, I think other DAWs like Ableton and FL Studio just give you better control over it. There's more how do I explain it? There's like better tools to create that effect. Like I think what was it called? Like Fruity Convolver or Fruity Reverb 2. Like they have a bunch of presets. So like again, like being in a closet or being in like a bathroom or like a you know like a like not your bathroom. I mean like at like a movie theater or something. You know like a tile kind of bathroom versus like being at a cathedral. You get what I mean? Like they capture it. It's a beast all on its own to like I don't even know the specifics. I only know a little bit of it. But some people will like go to a room and like play a sound, and they can capture like the reverb in that room and like create a preset. Weird stuff. Like Caustic doesn't let you do that. It's a very basic and limited app, and I don't know. It works for me for the time being. So I don't know. I just wanted to give a little bit of a demonstration to what all of this does. So let's listen to the organ. Let's add reverb to it. And again, I don't want to get too into this. I'm just gonna cut off some of the high. So you get these three knobs up top, okay? So it corresponds to this. Your high frequencies, your mid frequencies, and your bass frequencies. High, mid, and oh, what do you call them? Yeah, high, mid, bass, or sometimes high, mid, low. So if we hear this organ, it sounds a little bit too like that high pitch noise is kind of straining my ears, right? Maybe not yours, but so let me take off that high. Maybe a bit of the mid too. See where I'm going with this? So again, that's a little bit more complicated, a little bit more advanced. That has to do with mixing, and honestly, like when it comes to making music, I kind of like I'm of the philosophy that like there are no rules. You do whatever the fuck you want to do. But I do believe in having a workflow. So once once I'm done with this track, then yeah, I would start tweaking out like the highs and boosting the mids and then panning like certain instruments left and right. There's this whole there's a great YouTube video. I haven't even seen it myself. It's incredibly boring and long, but it's like the art of mixing, and it helps you visualize how the sounds are interacting with each other. So essentially speaking, like the way I see it is, since all my panning are like centered, like straight up, that would be called like mono. Or I'll just give you an example. So like again with the three instruments here, I'll take off the reverbs. And of course, I just want to make a quick note. This would really help if you're wearing headphones. So I'm just gonna pan our violin to the far left, and I'll do our organ. Or I'll do I'll do the organ to the far right. So if you hear this, it only appears in the left speaker, and if I play the piano, right down the middle, and you can kind of visualize it with these. It's kind of tiny text there, but it's like an L and R on the volume meters. So now if I go to lead 3, where do you think it'll be? Well, that kind of rhymed. It'll be off to the far right. And you don't always have to hard pan these. Like you could adjust them ever so slightly. So it's almost like if you think of like a stage and there's people playing music. One guy's on the violin, one guy's on the piano that has a delay, and one guy's on the organ. Imagine they're not just standing like all in the same spot. The piano guy's a little bit off to the left, organ guy's a little bit off to the right. So you get a little bit more of I guess a fuller sound. Like the volumes like don't really fight each other. It's weird stuff. Like I barely understand it myself, but I don't know. I guess this turned into like a lesson for some reason. I just wanted to kind of kind of explain what I'm doing, and I don't know. I just I don't know. Like I feel like I want to explain what I'm doing, so it's not so boring to just watch me tap away and make stuff, right? I always feel like if I can teach people, if I can kind of explain a little bit of like my process, then I don't know, maybe it'll help people, or maybe it makes for something a little bit more entertaining. And that screen, when I do that, is I just noticed it's like really cut off, or maybe it's my screen. I don't know. It's weird. Not a big deal. I'll mess around with that later, like on another stream. So let's go to a different mix. Cut man. This might be a bit loud too. No, maybe. So yeah, I honestly I apologize if the mic is still on and the music's playing, and it probably sounds really annoying, really bad. But yeah, I don't know. This is just kind of fun. So I already went into it a little bit last stream of what I did with this Cutman remix, but essentially I just went into my little beatbox, made a few patterns here. I'll just play them out real quick. So I have 6 patterns, okay? So as the music plays, I just literally just drop them in and out as I see fit. And I don't know, it's fun. I can always tweak them later. And another thing I want to explain was you may have seen that weird menu here, this comb freak or frequency. So based on what we know, I was struggling to think of something here. I didn't show off. I did show off like all this automation stuff last stream, but I just want to explain it again real quick. So when the track plays, see how it goes up over time? Corresponds to this, okay? Nothing special, but I just want to kind of explain it a little bit. So I'll do that to the wet dial here. So let's define something here. At the 0 mark, wet should be 0. Wet again is like that 0 to 100 thing. How potent it is, the effect. Like, okay, so like if it's at 0, it's not going to do anything, right? And if I turn it up 50%, it'll be a little bit. If I turn it up 100, it'll be a lot of bit. A lot of bit. So, okay, let's just define something real quick. I'll add in another, what do you call, like this record function, automation. So when I record, I mean, yeah, you can hook up like an instrument and, you can record yourself playing and stuff. But I mainly use this for, well, essentially recording these dials and sliders. So I just wanted to go over really quick. Any of these dials or sliders that you see me moving around with, they can all be automated. So there's quite a bit you can do with this automation stuff. And I'll show you an example just in a little bit. So let's just go over this. I will say that, okay, at the 0 point, let's automate the wet dial and turn that off. So now you'll notice there's comb frequency and comb wet. Okay, so at the 0 mark, nothing. And so, okay, so this comb frequency is going up from 0 to 8. So let's say the comb wet will go up from 0 to 4. You know, just for demonstration purposes here. So let's look at these two dials when it plays. So at the start, there's 0. But this wet dial should go up faster because from 0 to 4, it's going to go to 100. And this is going 0 to 100 from 0 to 8 or 1 to 8. You'll see what I mean visually. So yeah, it's not really it's not a good example. I'll show you a good example of where it's used. Let's see here. I have many examples apparently here somewhere. Okay, yeah. So this track I've been working on for years at this point. Not this one specifically. I just always rework it every now and then. If I go to sweep, so what is sweep? Sweep is right here. So it's kind of annoying, but okay. So you hear like that? Okay, so this is a low pass filter. So I'm just gonna tap it. I apologize for that. Watch, and as I turn this up. And ignore the echoing stuff you hear. It just makes a cool whooshing, like a sweeping effect, like a riser, I guess you would call it. So what I did was I defined the cutoff, which is that dial I was just playing with. I said from 16 to 24, I want it to go from 0 to 100. And I'll just play it real quick, like the track, just so you get an idea of how it works. And I apologize if you've heard this track so many times before, like I have. But I'm actually gonna mute myself because this is like a really loud track, and it's. Let's just pay attention to that sweep. So yeah, that's definitely different from what I've been doing just like the last hour or so. But yeah, that's my own little personal track I've been working on. But I just wanted to use it as an example of how automation can be used. It's not just on those effects, like the shitty sound I made earlier, but I almost always use that automation trick for my little sweep noise. And it's very simple to make. I mean, there's only two oscillators here, so like two sound generators. I make one of them the white noise, so I'll just make it from scratch here. Open up a subsynth. Okay, so that's a I don't even know what it's called. Sine wave, triangle wave, or saw. You know what? I'm not gonna look like an idiot. I don't know what these terms are. There's blank. There's sine. There's saw. No, okay. Let me get this right. Sine, triangle, sawtooth, and then square. Okay, yeah, I do know my shit. So yeah, what you just saw was me drawing in a custom one, and actually, it's kind of nice with this pen. Like I can. Oh, that's so nice. I can make my own little custom waveforms, or I can even load in some custom ones. Like, oh yeah, it's too big. Okay, whatever. Let's not deal with that. Okay. So two generators. So again, we'll play the sine wave. To make it easier, I'm just gonna drop down a note that just plays, so I don't have to keep holding down the note. So let's just hear this. It's a sine wave, saw wave, sawtooth, and just ignore those HQ ones for now. They're just obviously, I don't know, higher quality sounds. But anyway, square wave. So you get the idea of how these sound, but we can combine them. And yeah, this turned into a little subsynth tutorial. Subsynth, I don't know like the theory behind this, but I know it stands for subtractive synthesis. So there's a number of machines in this app that use different forms of synthesis, I guess, like subtractive synthesis, there's frequency modulation synthesis, or FM synths. You may have been, I don't know, again, like I don't know your history, I don't know your experience, but I think FM synths were used heavily in like Sega Genesis music, or like, you know, like those old school Sega Genesis tracks. Like they were, again, I don't know, like don't hold me, like don't quote me on this, but I don't know. A lot of those like punchy, bassy noise came from this machine. Not this one specifically. This just emulates what FM synthesis is, and to be completely honest with you, I have no idea what it is. All I know is you get these three operators, so like these three channels. Ah, I knew that'd be loud. And you get different... Yeah, it's hard to explain. I really don't know how it works, but all I know is that some people love the sound of this, and they'll love, like... Not love, but, you know, they enjoy tweaking the sound and coming up with, like, cool, you know, different sounds, different instruments. Anyway, back to the subsynth. So, what I was saying is I can actually combine two of these. And then I can adjust the mix. So, far left is this oscillator 1, far right is number 2. Yeah, you can do a lot of cool stuff with like a subsynth, and it's kind of fun. It's like playing with a toy. Like honestly, it you know what I mean? Like you can change like a bunch of stuff. I'm sorry, I got a little bit carried away. I wanted to show you how to make that simple whoosh noise, that white noise. So I'll just show you real quick. Here's how I do it. The first thing I do is I stretch out my pattern to 8 bars. So that'll go from 0 to 8, right? That's going to be the max length of it. So if I just pop that down, you can hear it. Lines up perfect. Okay, so just double tap that, go to the pattern. Let's create a very basic whoosh noise, and then I'm gonna cut this stream and go to bed because I can feel myself getting more and more tired. But okay, it does not matter if you use oscillator 1 or 2. Like it really doesn't matter. And oh my god, this pen is just so fun to play with. Like, damn, I feel like I'm like, I don't know. I feel like I discovered like magic or something. Like, let me just rant a little bit. Like, it's a giant tablet, well, not that big. I mean, it's a decently sized tablet, and I have this cool pen stylus like in my hand. And because this is a mobile DAW, it lends itself so well to moving like these dials and stuff. It just feels so intuitive and fun. Anyway, sorry. I'm gonna make a white noise sound. So let me fill. It doesn't matter here. What note? I'll just turn that down. Because, like, so, if I'm using a sine wave, you notice how the octaves change how it sounds. But when it comes to noise, specifically white noise, it doesn't really matter. Like, it all just sounds the same. So I don't know, just stick with C4. Drag that out. Okay, so what did I do? Right now in song mode, we have that C4 note being held from 0 to 8, and it sounds like that. I don't know, you can make like rain or like a waterfall noise out of that. But I want to change it up a bit. What I want to do now is add a low pass filter. Okay. And I wanted, it's a very, very easy thing to make here. We're just going to define, okay, one thing I have to get into just really quick is the difference between pattern and song mode. So if I automate this noise in pattern mode, see how it's yellow, and I'll automate this dial in song mode. They're different colors, and they correspond differently. So I'll go over pattern mode first, okay? So notice how it's yellow down here. Oh. When I click this button at the top left here, that's the filter cutoff, which is this dial that we just defined. So I can actually just draw in the curve that I want. I don't know what that smoothing thing does. I've never seen it. Or I have, but don't remember what it does. Anyway, all I'm defining here with this curve is how this dial will go up in pattern mode. So let's take a listen. Not very, like, it's very organic. Let me put it that. I guess I could zoom in too and like change like individual notes and stuff, but yeah, it's just like a zoom in function, right? I can have it like very fine tuned, or I can dive deep into it. So I'll let me get into something here. Let me just explain. I can almost have the pattern just go like up and down and up and down. So let's hear that. Like I said, very organic, and that works in pattern mode. So what that means is that as this pattern, so now I'm in song mode, I'm playing with the sequencer. As this A1 pattern plays, it will do that up down thing that we just did. Okay? That's pattern mode. So I'm just gonna remove that. And I'll remove this one too, so that doesn't make any sense. Notice the difference now. So if I start at 0 and I say I want to automate this cutoff dial, so I'll click record and I'll tap it. Notice it's blue now, it's not yellow because we're in song mode. So now if I click this top left, so these are the sequencer patterns or the blocks. This is the piano roll. This is the exact same thing we've seen here, where I do my compositions and stuff. Oh, I love this tablet. And this last mode is the effects, where the automation happens. So yeah, sorry, that's effects. So right now it's defaulting to this effects rack, and we don't have anything there, so you won't see anything. No automated controls. So let's click this menu. Let's go over to our subsynth, and now we see something here, filter cutoff. It's this value that we just defined. So if you'll notice, even if I drag it up, or not, what I'm saying is, when this track is at 0, oh actually yeah, let me explain that. The moment I hit play, oh, yeah, let me get rid of this, now that I think about it, I think this filtered cutoff thing, this pattern automation is completely independent from anyway, I'm overcomplicating this, like, way too much. Let me just... Yeah, sorry, that was my mistake. So, let me redo that. I'll just explain what I did. So in order to automate, to draw that stuff, I need to define that automation pattern. So I'll keep it at the top. I'm in pattern mode, the yellow mode. I click record and I tap that. Now when I come down here, see how it's all filled in? Because it's at full volume. So I can play around with it and, define how it goes up and down. But I don't want the pattern automation, like, at all. So I will record, I will double click, and clear the automation pattern. Okay, fine. Now if I go down here, there's no more automated control. So you can think of it as pattern automation is for more organic control, and song automation is for more technical, I guess. More, I'll explain it. Let's say at 0, like at the beginning of the track, it's at the 0 mark, okay? So check this out. Even if I try and drag it up, it'll always just drop down to 0. Why is that? Because we didn't define another point. All this knows right now is that it should be at 0. So if I click and drag in another point, now we're getting somewhere here. So if I go back to this, hit play, see that? Do you see how it's slowly going up? And look at that, it's going at an even rate, like that straight line, instead of that organic wave stuff that I made, right? So this is a very useful technique, especially when you're dealing with these precise blocks, right? This block is exactly 8 measures long, so I can go into the pattern automation and I could say, okay, so from 0 to 8, I want you to go from 0 to 100%. And as we can physically see, so at 0 it'll come here, and then at the 8th measure it'll be all the way at the top. And that is how you get this riser sound. I think I turned it down too much. And I'll just do one extra thing, I mean, just before I go, just to make it a little bit more interesting. I can add in a phaser noise to it. Do you hear that? Actually, I like that. Let's do that. So, let's define something else here. So, at the 0 mark, or at measure 0, there is no rate. Like, it's just this noise. But if I turn up the rate, okay, so we'll just quickly make this cool effect here. I'm gonna, and again, I only need to define one point when I do this song automation. So I'll click this rate, okay, come back to 0. So now you're wondering, where is that, or where's that automation we just defined? So I actually have to click this menu. I did not define it on the subsynth. I did it in the effects channel. So I didn't define anything here. I can't drag that, but I defined it, oh shit. I defined it on this channel. So it's just something to pay attention to. You'll have your subsynth, your effects, your mixer, and your master. So, I don't know, when in doubt, just scroll through all of them and you'll find it. So phaser rate. Let's say, as this plays, it'll slowly climb up. Kind of cool. But let's do something a little bit different, okay? Just to change it up a bit. When I go to the subsynth, it goes from 0% to 100. So why not do the opposite here? And see, I can just click and drag these nodes, I guess you'd call them, or points. So now, as the track plays, okay, I'll explain it. It's going to start out here. And then as it gets higher and higher and higher and more clear, it starts to slow down. Oh, we'll just hear it. It's just easier to explain. And if you're wondering why it just cuts off so abruptly, is because we're at the end of the measure, so it just cuts. Unless we added, okay, I know I said I would cut this, but we'll add in, a little bit of delay. We'll just add in a little bit, just so we can hear it echo as it ends. So yeah, I think I'm gonna end it here for sure now. It's already 11:30 and I think I started at like 10:40. So yeah, this went on way too long, but honestly like it's this tablet. Like it's honestly this tablet that just makes me so excited to do this stuff again, and it's honestly kind of fun. I get to teach a little bit of like what I'm doing and how I make these weird effects and stuff like that. And I apologize now if it wasn't really the kind of live stream you're expecting. If you wanted me to just, I don't know, bang out a bunch of remixes and stuff like this and like. There you go. So I'm, I don't know. I guess I wasn't really doing a whole lot of like remixing during this stream, but I'm not gonna end the stream awkwardly like I kind of always have, where I just be like, oh, like that's it. I'm gonna go out with some music, and I will use this newfound automation that we learned to make it a little bit more interesting. So I think last time I went out with what the hell was it? This Tengu Man remix, and I don't know if I want to do it again. I mean, maybe I do. You know what? I'm gonna go out on this music. I like it. Okay. So I will automate this master volume, which is basically the the volume knob for the whole track. So let's say at 0. What I like to do is I like to literally just start like double tap. I know I'm at 0, so I'll just automate the master volume. Come into here, automation patterns mastered. Okay, so there's my volume. So let's go out with I'll have it quietly fade out, and I'll just mute myself so I don't sound like an idiot, and then I'll end the stream. But yeah, before I go, I just want to say, like, again, if you have any questions or if you're wondering what I'm doing or how I'm doing it, then don't be afraid to contact me or message me, right? I mean, I'd be more than happy to help you out if I can, or if I'm not too busy. So anyway, let's do this.